स्थापय नीतं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणि। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासुदेव गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. We'll continue the discussion in the 15th chapter of Bhagavatam. Here we are having discussion on the description of kingdom of Godhead. What happens is all the demigods they went to Brahma because it was complete darkness in the universe. Not complete darkness, but it was quite influence of sun and moon got reduced, and because of which many of the living entities were suffering. So the demigods go and appeal to Lord Brahma for the situation, and Brahma he explains the reason for it. And for explaining, he's giving this story of how four Kumaras they went to Vaikunta. And now when it came to Vaikunta, he started describing about Vaikunta. And Brahmaji says, Yatra chadya pumanaste Bhagavan Shabda Gochara Sattam Vishtabhya Virajam Swanam no Madhayan Drishaha. So he says, in the Vaikuntha planet is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original person and who can be understood through the Vedic literature. He is full of uncontaminated mode of goodness, with no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for the devotees. Now, this is very difficult for a ordinary person to understand, and even for jnanis or yogis and so many other people, it's very difficult for them to accept that there is a spiritual world, because the main reason is for them to accept a form for the Supreme Lord is very difficult. Now, but Bhagavatam, we need to have faith that Bhagavatam is telling and Acharyas are accepting Bhagavatam. What is the main reason is, like, say, this form we have. Now, why it should be like this only? Why it should be, eyes should be like this, nose should be like this, ear, mouth, hands, legs. It's a some typical form. Now they say why it is like this. It can be different way, and because we are human beings, we are thinking we are making God in our form, and animals if they have, they will make God in their form, but he can be in a different form. But because he is supreme energy, it is better not to have form. By logic, it is not possible to understand. Like, why it is this form only? You are giving little extra, little four hands. You are giving two hands. But this is we have in the Bible. There is no man is made in the image of God. That means that is Lord first, and then we are all coming. Because we use the logic from our side. We say, I am like this, Lord should be like this, our Lord is like this. No, it is Lord first, and from there everything comes. That's why we are like this. Now, the kingdom, Prabhupada writes, kingdom of Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual side cannot be understood by any process other than hearing from the description of Vedas. This is the first thing. We cannot understand unless we hear from. There is no other method to understand the kingdom of God by speculation, by jnana, by yoga or karma. It is not possible. No one can go see it. In the material world, also, when who is unable to pay, go to a far distance place by motorized conveyances, can only understood about the place from authentic books. Similarly, the Vaikuntha planet in the spiritual sky or beyond this material sky. The modern scientists who are trying to travel in space are having difficulty going even to the nearest planet, the moon, to say nothing of the highest planet within the universe. There is no possibility that they can go beyond the material sky, enter the spiritual sky, and see for themselves the spiritual planet Vaikuntha. Therefore, the kingdom of God in the spiritual sky can be understood only through the authentic description of Vedas and Puranas. Say Antarctica. Many of us, none of us have gone Antarctica, but we know it exists because we hear from authority. That is the only way for us now because we cannot see the Vaikuntha, but if we hear from authority, we are hearing from Brahma, we hear in Bhagavatam, we are hearing from other authorized scriptures. And Bhagavad Gita also Krishna tells. And then there is acharyas who are telling that we can go, they have seen and come. One main source for us of proof is our acharyas. They help us to develop faith on Shastra also. How acharyas are a proof? Their personal example is a proof. Their personal life is a proof. Like when I came to ISKCON first time, what I understood is that Prabhupada will never cheat. Whatever this personality is telling the truth because his personality is such, is so compassionate, and he is giving such authorized knowledge in all fields. So now he will never cheat. That means he's telling is true. Bhaktisiddhanta says Thakur cannot cheat, Bhaktivinoda Thakur cannot cheat. That means whatever they are telling, it is true only for us. This is how we can develop that faith. By our research, it is not possible. And spiritual world is beyond the modes. In the material world, there are three modes of material qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. But in the spiritual world, there is no trace of mode of passion and ignorance. There is only the mode of goodness, which is uncontaminated by any tinge of ignorance or passion. In the material world, even if a person is completely in goodness, he is sometimes subjected to be polluted by the tinges of mode of ignorance and passion. But in the Vaikuntha world, the spiritual sky, only the mode of goodness in its pure form exists. The Lord and his devotees reside in Vaikuntha planet and they are of the same transcendental quality, namely Shuddha Sattva, the mode of pure goodness. The Vaikuntha planets are very dear to Vaishnavas. And for the progressive march of the Vaishnavas towards the kingdom of God, the Lord helps his devotees. Now, even in this world also, if we develop mode of goodness, we can experience a great amount of happiness. Mind becomes quite calm. Why these yogis and jnanis, when they sit and they do meditation in the Himalayas, what they experience is they are experiencing happiness and goodness only. That is a very high happiness. People in passion, they try to enjoy here in terms of food, in terms of some other pleasures, in terms of man and woman relationship. But compared to that pleasure, the pleasure experienced by yogis is very unlimited. That's why they are able to give up these pleasures. Otherwise, not possible. They're sitting in Himalayas and experiencing, they are getting quite a lot of happiness. That is because of goodness, the pleasure in goodness. When you normally also, when we are in present, when we live in present, we can experience some sort of quite peace and happiness. what happens is most of the people, they live in the past or in future. Past, brooding over the past is ignorance, and anticipating for the future is in the passion. But living in present is goodness. That is where we experience some sort of peace and happiness. But it is not possible for the people because they're affected. And even these yogis and jnanis, they also have the tinges of ignorance and passion. That's why they also don't get. But when a person able to completely stay in the present, and that is in Vaikuntha, where there is no past and future. He's just living in present, and he's completely blissful. There is no anxiety of future. There is no lamentation with the past because there is no influence of time. And that is the place where devotees want to go. They want to serve the Lord all the time. And even now also, how we can serve the Lord is when we are conscious only, then only we can serve the Lord properly. We have to be conscious. Lord is there. I need to cook for him. I need to offer arti for him. I need to dance for him, sing for him. We have to be always conscious. That is how it is very important. Bhakti is, it is looks very simple, but it is difficult sometimes because we have to always be conscious. We cannot relax. If we say, okay, let us do it cool, relax, immediately we become unconscious. And then we do it as a habit, and it won't work like that. Bhakti is not by habit. Bhakti is every moment there is a consciousness involved. That's why it is difficult sometimes. Like say now today we are doing class. So advantage of giving classes is when we preach to others is we have to be conscious at least that time. Hearing can be done unconsciously. We just have to keep it and we can just do whatever we want. And that is why we recommend that we directly sit in front of the speaker and hear as much as possible because when he's sitting in front of, we cannot do whatever we want. We have to be conscious. And bhakti is, that's why it is, whoever is ready to pay for it, means he is ready to uh, consciously do all the time, he can enter into Vaikuntha plan. It's quite simple. Chanting, we don't want to be conscious because it's quite uh, heavy to be conscious all the time. We just want to do mechanical. Okay, I completed my chanting for today. So here, yatra naishreyasam nama vanam kama dughay dumai sarvattu sribir vibrajat kaivalyam iva murtimat. He says that in those Vaikuntha planet, there are many forests which are very auspicious. In those forests, the trees are desired trees, and in all seasons, they are filled with flowers and fruits because everything in Vaikuntha planet is spiritual and personal. This is the important thing. Everything, the many forests which are very auspicious. Some yogis who appreciate the form of Lord, they reach into Vaikuntha planet. In those forests, the trees are desire fulfilling. They're filled with flowers, fruits, because it's personal. This is also very important. When we are conscious, when we are dealing with person, we have to be conscious. And the spiritual world, that's why it is conscious. It's very, very personal. Like people who are doing deity worship, we need to be personal, very, very personal. But what happens is sometimes people say, okay, in front of deities only, they start talking to others. They are discussing something and they are thinking of something. It's not like that. We have to, as much as possible, treat him as a person. In Vaikuntha planet, everything is very, very uh, personal, and people treat each other very personally. It's very difficult. Like already we have few people in the house. To be with them only sometimes become difficult. And you bring two more Gaurnita into house, three more Jagannath, Baldev, Sudra, Sudarshan, four, and then Radha Krishna, okay, Lalita, Vishaka. So if you bring so many, you have to be catering the needs of all. We have to be conscious about all the people. We have to take care of everyone. Like there's a nice devotees who do two times Aarti for the Lord. They do Abhishekam for the Lord. They do dressing two times Aarti. They cook two times. And I have known one Mataji, she cooks every day sweets. Even though she eats only one time, but she cooks two times for the deities. He says, oh, they will be hungry. I should cook for them. And every day compulsory sweet. And with very good quality ghee she cooks. She says, oh, my Lord likes sweet. I should cook every day sweet for them. She's very, very conscious. Now she is almost, she crossed 70 years, but still she's doing almost from 30, more than 30 years or 40 years. And that feeling is so much, treating like a person, conscious. And this is the what we have to develop. We have to treat, and then that is actually what is spiritual world. Everything is personal. Prabhupada writes, in the Vaikuntha planet, the land, the trees, the fruits and flowers, the cows, everything is completely spiritual and personal. The trees are desire trees. On this material planet, the trees can provide fruits and flowers according to the order of material energy. But in Vaikuntha planet, the trees, the land, the residents, and the animals are all spiritual. There is no difference between the tree and animal, or the animal and the man. What happens is they can change the forms in Vaikuntha. If a living entity feels, okay, let me serve as a tree and give some fruits to Krishna. And then he can change also. He say, I want to be a chair for Krishna. I want to do this. They have these options. Anyway, you can serve. That's why there's so much variety. Here the world, but they have some certain style, like a particular rasa they like more, but they can change also and do different service. Here the word Murtimat indicates that everything has a spiritual form. Formlessness as conceived by the impersonalists is refuted in this verse. In the Vaikuntha planet, although everything is spiritual, everything has a particular form. The trees and the men have form. And because all of them, although differently formed, are spiritual, there is no difference between them. This is the point. Like, there is no difference because they can do service to the Lord in that form. And they feel completely blissful and satisfied in that service. So they don't want to change also. They say, oh, every day I will give fruits to Krishna, every day I'll give fruits to Krishna. And that living entity is happy in that way. And some living entities, they want to do a particular service and they become so satisfied in it. And they always live in the present. That's why there is no question of any losing something or changing something. It is very difficult for us to even imagine how it is. But main thing is form is there. That is very important. And is a person. Dealing with a person means we have to be consciously dealing. I gave this example. We discussed few times. If Krishna comes to our house now, suddenly your bell is ringing after the class is over, and you opened and Krishna came. Now we have to be very conscious. Oh, Krishna, please come sit, and you arrange a best sitting place in your house, and then you have to go and kitchen and best ingredients we have to bring. Keep everything neat and clean. The kitchen, the place where Lord is sitting, that should be neat and clean, and where Lord looking. You just don't sit now. You walk around. So your house should be neat and clean. Everything should be neat and clean. And then you have to make Krishna sit in a particular place, whatever. And then we have to give him, morning. We have to arrange for his bathing, best of the waters. we have to put some rose water in it, some tulsi, then he takes bath, and you have to give him best dress, and then you have to serve food. And once he takes, then you have to give him nice breakfast, and then you have to prepare for his lunch, and you have to offer him some nice water and chappal. He will go around and come. And then after lunch, he takes rest. You have to give him a bed. And this is how, and whole day we have to work with him only. We cannot do anything else. Krishna don't like. Krishna likes exclusive attention. Now, if we are doing it, how much we are interested to serve without any mm, personal time. That is how we are in Vaikuntha. No personal time. Only time is for Supreme Lord all the time, and then they want that only, and Lord also want that only. And if we do like this for 3 4 days, we may really feel. Some of them may feel, oh Krishna, no, 3 days, okay, I cannot do more than this. Some people may not can do for 1 week, some people can do for 1 day. But if we are able to do all, why? Because there should be rati, there should be taste. Then it is possible to do whole life. So we need to have that relation and taste for Krishna. And it does not come just by sadhana. We need to uh, we need to associate with somebody who has it. Then we will be able to develop that. That's why we need to associate with devotees. On our own, we cannot develop that feeling for Krishna. We cannot get that taste. We just have to associate with somebody who has that taste. That is how it happened. Prabhupada disciples, they associated Prabhupada so closely. Not so much they read Bhagavatam because there is not translated also. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita translated. Bhagavatam, it took quite few years. Prabhupada started. Whatever books were there, second, third canto, they were reading. But still they are experiencing a great amount of bliss and happiness and satisfaction because they are doing book distribution and they are experiencing great amount of bliss. Why? Because they were so close with such pure devotees. So the vibrations were affecting so much. There's so much meditating on Prabhupada and they experience. So this type of taste is needed for us to serve. So it is like this. I will write for you. So what is the criteria to enter into Vaikuntha? Many criteria, but for us, if you see the formula, so, we should be able to constantly serve Krishna. Now, to constantly serve Krishna, what is needed? Taste. And this comes in the association of devotees. Devotees who have taste. So this is the main criteria. And miss we and this is how we need to. That's why we need association of devotees. Like I told this Mataji, who was like at least who are 24/7. Sorry. Now many people do bhakti because they know that okay, if I don't do bhakti, it's not good for me. It is good I should do bhakti. But at one point we have to feel without because I like it's not a question of it is good or bad. Because I like it, because I like this person Krishna, whoever is such a nice person. We need to develop this taste, and this taste in either taste in any of the 9 processes. So 9 angas of bhakti. Either we develop taste in hearing about Krishna constantly, we feel so happy. We just want to take darshan of Krishna. Somebody likes kirtan of Krishna. Somebody like to do some service to Krishna. And back of the mind, no, we should feel for that person who is Krishna. All the time, that thought should come. Say like example of a boy who got in love with a girl and is in college. Anything he's doing, in the back of the mind, that there is some sort of feeling for him. She is always remembering that girl. Like the example they give, he is traveling in a very crowded bus and everything is like it's middle of the like summer now what we have, and he's in the bus and it's completely crowded, everybody's sweating and so difficult. And now he is going to meet his girlfriend. Now he will be completely blissful. He's not affected by what is happening around because there is some sort of taste that is coming. Because it's mundane taste. It is not bhakti rasa. But we need to feel that for Krishna all the time. Anything is happening in this world, no? But in behind the mind, okay, when I will go back to Krishna and do take his darshan, when I will do abhishekam for him, when I will do dressing for him, when I will cook and offer for him, when I chant for him, when I will hear from him, when I do kirtan for him. This should be always in the back of mind. And that is actually what is taste in the process. And slowly that will mature, and then we will be able to slowly enter into spiritual world. This is the formula works like that. And that is when we have association of devotee who have that taste. He's just, oh, Krishna. So he's so blissful with Krishna. And then we say, wow, he's getting, why I should not feel for Krishna? And he's like, he can sit in front of Krishna for 2 hours and just look at Krishna. And when we see, wow, for me only 2 minutes. But when we see him, we get inspired. Okay, let me also sit in front of Krishna. Let me also look at his beautiful form. Krishna reciprocates. That is the interesting thing. If I develop that feeling for Krishna, and so Krishna also reciprocates in turn. Actually, here one more taste comes in the association of devotees, and in the association of devotees, what happens is two things happen. Is we start serving Krishna. Serving Krishna is also means we take responsibility. This is actually very important. When we take responsibility, we become mature. We can experience higher things. This is actually what happened to Prabhupada disciples also. They took very great responsibilities on behalf of Prabhupada. They just alone 1 2 weeks they joined. Immediately they were sent to some place. They started opening a center and started preaching and recruiting others into the temple, because of which they were experiencing great amount. They took such responsibility, they got experience. So this is also one more thing. More we are conscious, more we are developing, we take responsibility, first responsibility of our life, and then we take responsibility of others life also. This is very important. We need to take responsibility. Clear? Any questions, comments on it? Okay, we'll go for the next verse. विमानिकासाललनाश्चरितानि सश्वत् गायन्ति यत्र समल कश्यप कष्पनानि भृतु अन्तर्जले अनुविकंस मधुमानिनीना गन्धेन खण्डित दियोऽपि अनिलं क्षिपन्तः वैमानिकासललनाश्चरितानि शश्वत् गायन्त्री यत्र समल क्षपनानि भर्तु अन्तर्जलेऽन्विकसन् मधुमा मधुमाधवीनां गन्धेन खण्डितधियोऽपि अनिलं क्षिपन्त. This verse says that in Vaikunta planet, the inhabitants fly in their aeroplanes accompanied by their wives and consorts and eternally sing of the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of all inauspicious qualities. While singing the glories of the Lord, they deride even the presence of blossoming Madhavi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with honey. This is eternally singing the character. So this is the point. Like they are accompanied by their consort, so they have their wife, and they don't need any emotional support from their wives and consorts they have, and eternally they sing of the character and activities of the Lord. This is important to understand. There are families in spiritual world, but all of them serve Krishna. Their relation is only to please Krishna. Their purpose is only to please Krishna. And they want to please Krishna in that particular way. That's all. And eternally they are doing the same, glorifying, and then they are happy in that. And Prabhupada, right, it appears from this verse that the Vaikuntha planets are full of all opulences. There are airplanes in which the inhabitants travel in the sky with their sweethearts. There is a breeze carrying the fragrance of blooming flowers, and this breeze is so nice that it also carries the honey of the flowers. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha, however, are so interested in glorifying the Lord that they do not like the disturbance of such a nice breeze while they are chanting the Lord's glories. That means for them, they're not interested in any pleasure. It's not like they are torturing themselves. No, I will not take any pleasure. It's not like that. There is pleasure in these things, but the point here is they get more pleasure in glorifying the Lord. Say if somebody you have got gulab jamun, and if somebody comes and gives some sugar in a spoon. Now I said, oh, sugar in spoon. I don't want this sugar. Hey, sugar, how can you reject sugar? Sugar is so nice. Hey, sugar is nice, but in comparison to gulab jamun, who wants sugar? So the inhabitants, however, are not interested in glorifying the Lord. The inhabitants, however, are so interested in glorifying the Lord that do not like the disturbance of such a nice breeze while they were chanting the Lord's glories. It's like somebody is giving some spoon of sugar, and they have opportunity to uh, speak the glories of Lord here. In other words, they are pure devotees. They consider glorification of Lord more important than their own sense gratification, because that gives another level of happiness. Why? Because we are part of Krishna. We need to give pleasure to Krishna. And when the living entity connects to Krishna in that way, he experiences great amount of bliss, which is not compared to any of the things. Their senses are there, which are also spiritual. They also get spiritual happiness in senses, but they are not much interested. In Vaikuntha plant, there is no question of sense gratification. To smell the fragrance of blooming flowers is certainly very nice. It is nice, but it is simply for sense gratification. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha give first preference to the service of Lord, not their own sense gratification. Serving the Lord in the transcendental love yields such transcendental pleasure that in comparison, sense gratification is counted as insignificant. So this is the point. So that it yields there is such a love, like I see many times serving the Lord in transcendental love yields such transcendental pleasure. In comparison, this is insignificant. That's why they are able to easily, they don't want only any of these things. Like when a small child is there and mother, she purchases ice cream, two children are there, they eat all the ice cream. No, mother is also like sometimes there is a single child, and no, she is also in her, she is 20, 21, 22, and the child is just born, like he's 2 years or like that. And now it's not that mother has lost the taste for ice cream. She also likes, but when the child gets it, he eats everything. Mother is happy. Why mother is happy? Because she gets some love that appears in her. She said, let my child enjoy. So not that she lost taste for it, but she says, no, no, let my child enjoy. Because there is love. And this is mundane, of course. But in the spiritual, it's real love is there. This love is only for some time. But in spiritual, it's real love. It continues and it increases. And because of that love, he want to give more and more and more and serve Lord more and more. And for him, I don't need anything because I'm getting everything in serving. Mother also, when she is having a child and she is serving, she does not generally become sick. Child becomes sick. Mother is healthy because she's serving. She's happy. That's the point. Next sloka says, आरावतान्यभृतसारसचक्रवाका दा धायुहंससुखतीतिरि बर्हिणान्य कोलाहलं विरमते अचिन्मात्रमुच्चैर्भृङ्गादिपे हरिकथाम् इव गायमाने प्रारावतान्यभृतसारसचक्रवाक दातूह्यहं ससुखतिरिबर्हिणाम्य कोलाहलो विरमते चिरमातरं चैत् गङ्गाधिपे हरिकथम् इव गायमाने. This is a very nice verse describing about Vaikuntha. It says, when the king of P hums in a high pitch, it is just humming in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there is a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon, the cuckoos, the cranes, the chakravakas, the swan, the parrot, the prodigy, and peacock. Such transcendental birds stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of Lord. And they see that the bumblebee, which is making zzz sound, all of them they stop. They want to hear. And now the cuckoo or chakravaka and they make such more beautiful sound. But them more important is the sound which glorifies the Lord. We'll see what Prabhupada writes. This is a very nice purpose. Prabhupada says, this verse reveals the absolute nature of Vaikuntha. So this is very important. This verse is the absolute nature of Vaikuntha. There is no difference between the birds there and the human residents. The situation in the spiritual sky is that everything in is spiritual and variegated. Spiritual variegatedness means that everything is animate. There is nothing inanimate. That means everything is conscious. Even the trees, the ground, the plants, the flowers, the birds, and the beast are all on the level of Krishna conscious. Everything is conscious about. The special feature of Vaikuntha Loka is that there is no question of sense gratification. So, how many points proposed? First is it's the absolute nature of Vaikuntha, and then there is no difference between birds and human residents. There is everything is spiritual and variegated. Everything is animate, and all are on the level of Krishna conscious. There is no question of sense gratification. So proper in the metal world, even an ass enjoys his own sound vibration. But Vaikuntha, such nice birds as peacocks, the chakravakas, the cuckoos, prefer to hear the vibration of glories of Lord from a bee. The principle of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting, are very prominent in Vaikuntha world. It is variegated. There are different residents. It is variegated. They're all animate. They're on the level of Krishna consciousness, and no question of sense gratification. And the principle of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting, are very prominent in Vaikuntha. This is what Prabhupada is trying to tell, because we don't know spiritual world, but Prabhupada is helping us understand about spiritual world. Next shloka is also a very nice one. Mandarakund Mandarakundakurabotpalachampakarna Pannaganaga Bakulambujaparijata Gande Archite Tulasi Kabhiramannatasya Esmai Stapa Sumanas Bahumanayanti Mandarakundakurapotpalachampakarna Punnaganagapakulambujaparijata Gande Archite Tulasaiकाभरणेन tasya Yasmai Stapah Sumanasso Bahumanayanti. It says that although flowering plants like the Mandara, Kunda, Kurabaka, Utpala, Champaka, Arna, Punnaga, Naga, Nagakeshara, Bakula, Lily, Parijata are full of transcendental fragrance, they all still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulsi. For Tulsi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with Tulsi leaves. So they all appreciate Tulsi. They still consider, they're still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulsi, the special place. Now, Prabhupada writes, this is nice point here also. The importance of Tulsi leaf is very clearly mentioned here. Tulsi plant and their leaves are very important in devotional service. This is the first point. Tulsi plant and their leaves are very important in devotional service. Devotees are recommended to water the Tulsi tree every day and collect the leaves to worship the Lord. One time, an atheistic Swami remarked, "What is the use of watering the Tulsi plant? It is better to water eggplant. By watering the eggplant, we can get some fruits. But what is the use of watering the Tulsi? These foolish creatures, unacquainted with devotional service, sometimes play havoc with the education of people in general. Prabhupada is telling foolish creature. And that is true. The most important thing about spiritual world is that there is no envy among devotees there. So very important point to be noted. No envy among devotees there. This is true even among the flowers, which are all conscious of the greatness of Tulsi. In Vaikuntha world, in the Vaikuntha world entered by the four Kumaras, even the birds and flowers are conscious of service to the Lord. This is the truth. So Vaikuntha planet, everybody is conscious and there is no envy. Why? Because there is nothing to achieve in return. That's why there is no envy. Here now we want something all the time. And we want for ourselves. There is personal sense gratification. That's why there is envy. Spiritual world, there is nothing personal, everything for the pleasure of Lord. There is competition to give pleasure to Lord and not for ourselves. That's why there is no envy in the spiritual world. We'll take the next sloka also. Yat samkulam haripadanatimataratritay वैडूर्यमारकट हेममयैर्विमानै येषामृतकटिकटटास्मितशोभमुख्या कृष्णात्मनाम्नरजधाधर विस्मयान्ते. This is also very nice words. Yat sankulam haripadanatimataratritair वैडूर्यमारक कटेः मम एर्विमाणैर् येषामृतकटियतत स्मितशोभिमुख्यै कृष्णात्मनां नरज आदुदरि उद्स्मयाद्यै. This verse says that the inhabitants of Vaikuntha travel in their aeroplane made of lapis lazuli, emerald and gold. Although crowded by their consorts, who have large hips and beautiful smiling faces, they cannot be stimulated by passion by their myth and beautiful charms. This is very nice purport also Prabhupada writes. In the material world, opulences are achieved by materialistic person by dint of their labor. One cannot enjoy material prosperity unless he works very hard to achieve it. This is the first. So Prabhupada is telling one cannot enjoy material prosperity unless he works very hard to achieve it. Either in this life, next life. Say somebody is born in a family of a rich person, means he has worked last life, he has performed it, now he is getting that. But the devotees of Lord who are the residents of Vaikuntha have the opportunity to enjoy a transcendental situation of jewels and emeralds. Ornaments made of gold bedaubed with jewels are all achieved not for working hard but by the benediction of Lord. In other words, devotees in Vaikuntha world or even in this material world cannot be poverty stricken as is sometimes supposed. They have ample opulence for enjoyment, but they need not labor to achieve them. Devotees have ample enjoyment, but they do not labor to achieve them. It is also stated that in the Vaikuntha world, the concerts of the residents are many, many times more beautiful than we can find in this material world, even in the highest planets. Radhanath Maharaj says they are like cockroaches. when the Miss World, Miss Universe are all the famous, beautiful women of this world compared to the heavenly woman beauty, they will be like cockroaches. And when they are compared with somebody from the spiritual world, the heavenly women look like cockroaches. It is specifically mentioned here that a woman's large hips are very attractive and they stimulate men's passion. But the wonderful feature of Vaikuntha is that although the women have large hips and beautiful faces and are decorated with ornaments of emerald and jewels, the men are so absorbed in Krishna conscious that the beautiful bodies of women cannot attract them. In other words, there is enjoyment of the association of opposite sex, but there is no sexual relationship. The residents of Vaikuntha have a better standard of pleasure, so there is no need of sex pleasure. This is very simple. You get so much higher taste that is there is no taste for any of these mundane things. And we'll take the next verse also. श्रीरूपिणी कवनयत्रै चरणारविन्दम् लीलाम्बुजेन हरिसद्मनि मुक्तदोषा संलक्षयते स्फुटिककुप्ययुपेतहेम सम्मार्जितीव यदनुग्रहणे नयन नये यतनः. This is the ladies in Vaikuntha planet are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their legs like bangles twinkle, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedaubed at intervals with golden borders in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they want Sammarjitiva Yadanugrahena Naya Yatanaha. They just want merciful glance of the Lord. So Prabhupada writes, in the Brahma Samhita it is stated that the Supreme Lord Govinda is always served in his abode by many, many millions of goddesses of fortune. Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasambhrama Sevyama. These millions and trillions of goddesses of fortune who reside in Vaikuntha planet are not exactly consorts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but are wives of the devotees of Lord and are also engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated herein that in Vaikuntha planet the houses are made of marble. Similarly, in Brahma Samhita it is stated that the ground of Vaikuntha planet is made of touchstone. Thus, there is no need to sweep the stone in Vaikuntha, for there is hardly any dust on it. But still, in order to satisfy the Lord, the ladies there always engage in dusting the marble walls. Why? The reason is that they are eager to achieve the grace of Lord by doing so. They just want Lord to look at them. It is also stated here that in the Vaikuntha planet, the goddess of fortune are faultless. Generally, the goddess of fortune does not remain steadily in one place. Her name is Chanchala, which means one who is not steady. We find, therefore, that a man who is very rich may become the poorest of the poor. Although another example is Ravana. Ravana took away Lakshmi, Sita ji, to his kingdom, and instead of being happy by the grace of Lakshmi, his family and his kingdom were vanquished. Thus, Lakshmi in the house of Ravana is Chanchala or unsteady. Men of Ravana's class want Lakshmi only, without her husband Narayana. Therefore, they become unsteady due to Lakshmi ji. Materialistic persons find fault on the part of Lakshmi, but in Vaikuntha, Lakshmi ji is fixed in the service of the Lord. In spite of her being the goddess of fortune, she cannot be happy without the grace of Lord. Even the goddesses of fortune needs the Lord's grace in order to be happy. Yet in the material world, even Brahma, the highest creature, seeks the favor of Lakshmi for happiness. So such nice purport Prabhupada is writing that how the the everybody is desiring for the blessings of Lakshmi, and that Lakshmi want blessings of Lord. So instead of going for Lakshmi, we should go for Lord. And Lakshmi ji will always come. Prabhupada is telling devotees are always prosperous, like that. So thank you all very much. Any questions, comments before we end? Hare, yes, Shiv Kumar.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Then,
Prabhu,
yes.
the spiritual senses, Prabhu, one question. The experience that we have as devotees here in this world, Prabhu, with the material senses, is there any way that can be compared to how the experience of the devotional service through the spiritual senses, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. We can also experience our senses if we are engaged in Krishna service. Like if you put iron in a fire, it gets the qualities of the fire. Similarly, if we are engaged in Krishna service, our senses they become spiritualized. You will not get any taste when we take only prasadam, 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 and when we chant the holy name of Lord, and when we hear only Krishna katha all the time. Then our senses are spiritualized, and any other katana don't give any taste for us. We say, why am I wasting my time? You cannot glorify any other thing other than chanting the holy name of Lord, speaking Krishna katha. Your tongue will not. Immediately you feel very disgusting. So what is this? Our senses are become spiritualized. So it is very much possible. That's actually the method. We have to spiritualize our senses. We don't now when we every day morning we hear Bhagavatam. Now today somebody says like Prabhuji 7 o'clock, let us watch a movie. Say no way. It won't work only for us. For us we need to hear Bhagavatam because the ears got used to it. They are becoming spiritualized.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you all very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.